Okay. So, is this not your department? Was yours? Pass it over. Okay, I'm just checking because I thought you were sneaking in another department on us. I said, wait a minute, we still got to do all right, this is it, right?
This is it.
All right. How you doing?
How are you, Council President?
Good. Please proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council President Clark and members of City Council. I am Mitchell Little, Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Community Empowerment and Opportunity. I'm joined in the gallery by Katrina Pratt-Roebuck, Eric Munson, and Gary DeShield, CEO's Deputy Executive Director of Operations, Chief of Staff, and Chief Financial Officer, respectively. I'm pleased to provide testimony on CEO's Fiscal Year 2018 operating budget. You have received my testimony in advance, and I know it's been a long day, so I'll keep my remarks brief. In short, we are Philadelphia's anti-poverty agency, allocating community services block grant and TANF dollars to fund services citywide, and coordinating and convening providers around Shared Prosperity Philadelphia, our city's anti-poverty strategic plan. Shared Prosperity consists of 5 pillars: access to public benefits and essential services, including food access, workforce development, economic security and asset building, housing security, and early childhood education, including the administration of a running start for every child birth to 5, the city's early childhood strategic plan. CEO also leads the West Philadelphia Promise Zone initiative, which last year supported a successful application for a 30 million Promise Neighborhood designation with the U.S. Department of Education. Last year, CEO made targeted investment in under-resourced communities across Philadelphia in support of each of Shared Prosperity strategies, including Benephilly, Center for Employment Opportunities, to the Financial Empowerment Centers, to lead paint remediation, to the city's new quality child care call center, just to name a few. These efforts pursue at least one of the following 3 goals: alleviating poverty's most immediate effects, providing pathways out of poverty, and preventing the intergenerational transfer of poverty. Now, I'll very briefly mention some of our growth efforts in the year ahead. In FY2018, CEO will explore integrating the Benephilly model within partner agencies, including the Department of Prisons, community health centers, and other organizations, in order to improve efficiency and expand benefit access to underserved populations across the city. CEO represents the Managing Director's Office on the Workforce Steering Committee, and as a part of those efforts, we contribute support and leadership to transition 200 seasonal jobs to permanent jobs, and ensuring pathways to city government are transparent and obtainable to those most vulnerable. We are also working with local, state, and federal funders and early childhood stakeholders to streamline families' access to publicly funded care through a one-stop enrollment system. The one-stop system will be the first of its kind in the country and will greatly simplify access to child care and early learning programs for the city's low-income families. In the year ahead, in addition to our financial empowerment centers and our EITC VITA programs, we are piloting a credit building loan program in partnership with Finanta and the Pastureville branch of the Free Library of Philadelphia, as well as a family savings account partnership with Finanta and the Department of Community and Economic Development in order to help low-income families save for home, tuition, or start a new business. Through cross-collaborations within the Health and Human Services Cabinet and a partnership with the Office of Homeless Services, the Philadelphia Food Access Collaborative is managing the expansion of ID Philly program to serve more than 2,000 low-income individuals. As you know, photo ID is critical to getting a job, leasing an apartment, and receiving medical care. So we are proud to spearhead this effort on the city's behalf. The West Philadelphia Promise Zone initiative will continue our partnership with Drexel and other community stakeholders in the implementation of the 30 million Promise Neighborhood designation to serve students in 7 West Philadelphia schools. The programs I described are all expansion of existing efforts to improve equity and inclusion across the city. We look forward to partnering with you and your offices in these efforts in the year ahead. At this time, I'd be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Empowerment zones, you referenced the West Philly Empowerment Zone. Did I hear that correctly?
No, Promise Zone.
Promise Zone.
Promise Neighborhood. Yeah.
The empowerment zones was something that happened years ago. Do you all have anything to do with the empowerment zones at this time?
No, our work is in
some residuals.
No, so our work is in the Promise Zone, which is a federal designation.
Right. I know what that is.
Yeah.
Can you? Because I know you know about empowerment zones. Is that in commerce? All right. Yeah. But then you have nothing to do with that, you guys? He doesn't. All right. All right. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just checking, trying to find where the money is. When in your 5-year plan, you talked about goals to focus on workforce development for young adults and individuals with barriers to employment. So one of the things I want to ask you about is your department help employers, if they understand and apply for the PREP program, the Philadelphia Reentry Program. Does your department work with those employers in terms of talking about tax credits and all the things associated with that? So
we do work with returning citizens. We fund a program called CEO out of New York, Center for Employment Opportunities, that work with folks just returning from state penitentiary and give them employment opportunities to get a leg up and re-enter the system immediately. And they do similar work, crew work like Power Corps PHL, which we also fund in regards to our workforce strategy. So that's some of the sort of workforce that we fund, and both target both at-risk young people and folks who have some attachment to the justice system. The work that we're currently deeply involved in, City as Model Employer through the MDO, also targets those populations, young people who are attached from work or school, who need to find a way into employment opportunities, whether it's city government or otherwise. So that's the work that we're deeply involved in.
Okay. Are you or will you be involved in the city's rebuild program?
So I think that there's
any way, shape, or form?
Sure. I think that there is some great synergy in the rebuild program with the work that we're doing on behalf of the MDO and the Workforce Steering Committee. So we've had some initial conversations on a way that we could start to work together to create workforce opportunities together.
And so you haven't had a designation yet as to what you'll be doing, but there's conversation.
So I think there's some great alignment. So the two parts of our work that we do in the Workforce Initiative through the Managing Director's Office is one is working with Philadelphia Works and external workforce providers to reimagine the workforce system. We think that there's some synergy and sort of a realignment of existing services, folks who have been working in silos traditionally and haven't been able to create a pathway to work for individuals that's clear and concise, no matter where you sort of join, as a young person or returning citizen, to understand your pathway to employment. And so I think that in that work, there was some real synergy between what we're doing and what the rebuild team is doing.
Okay, thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon. How are you?
How are you, Councilman?
Good. Never miss the opportunity to try to make sure as many people know about our paid sick leave law as possible. So I was wondering, through this shared prosperity initiative, do you make people who are either getting jobs, may have one already, or the businesses you may work with, employers you may work with, aware of this law? Because even though I think everybody's supposed to know about it, I know that's still not known by everybody. So is this something that you...
Certainly. So I think for our direct services, the work that we fund through our EITC work and also our financial empowerment centers, we make sure that counselors are aware and pass on good information to residents. And also our benefit access work are those one-on-one opportunities where folks get an idea of what's available to them.
Well, that's great, because I think particularly for low-income workers, it certainly is an effective tool, I think, in dealing with poverty, because those few days can make a difference.
You're absolutely right.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Don.
Thank you, Council President. Good afternoon.
How are you, Councilman?
Good, how are you? EITC is part of your program, right?
That's correct.
Do you have any statistics on how many returns or applications that you've completed for earned income tax credit throughout the centers?
We do about, in our VITA sites, I think we do about 32 tax preparation applications a year. 3,200, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, 3,200. Is there any way to promote EITC even more than what we're doing right now from your perspective?
So I think we are getting there. We have several sites that we fund. We are working with revenue and other city departments to expand those services and creating cost-sharing opportunities. And so trying to represent ourselves as city government, not just individual departments, in ways we can expand our services and make our dollars go further. And so we just started that activity in the last fiscal year, and we'll continue to be more efficient about how we sort of support those programs.
So everyone who comes into one of the centers, are they informed about the earned income tax credit?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. Good afternoon. I just have a question in reference to the majority of funding for CEO comes from the Community Service Block Grant. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I know over the years, back from when I was in the law department, this dollars for this organization has gone down dramatically. And even with the bluster of the current occupant of Pennsylvania Avenue, I still believe that the actual budget as resolved as we go throughout this year will still include funding for Community Service Block Grant as well as LAHI, but it's a strong possibility, even if it's not totally eliminated from the budget, it can be at a significant lower amount, just based on negotiation between both sides of the aisle. So I guess my concern is, if that were to occur, what steps will we take in order to continue to provide services going forward?
If we were to lose community services?
Well, not lose, I don't think it'd be totally wiped out, but I would not be surprised if it was still reduced as part of some budgetary negotiation. If so, what steps would CEO take going forward to continue to provide services?
Community Service Block Grants funds the majority of our work, as you know, and so it's a very integral part of our funding strategy. I think that we've been working closely with the Health and Human Services Cabinet and the administration to think about scenarios in which we would have to replace some of those funding dollars. I think CEO is on an aggressive sort of fundraising strategy as a department, understanding that there, to your point, there are less dollars to do the work that they were already doing. And what our sister departments have illustrated today, that the need is great. Whether it's the opioid crisis or the number of children entering into our DHS system, the number of homelessness folks in our city, folks are in dire conditions sometimes. And in communities of color, where you're looking at 50% poverty rate, it just illustrates the issue of the importance of our work even more. So I think that we will work very hard with the administration to secure additional funding.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. There appears to be no additional questions. I want to thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you, Council President.
And the committee will stand in recess until Wednesday, May 3rd, 2017, 10 a.m. in room 400. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.